Stop scrolling, brother, you, because there's something I need to tell you, and it's going to sting. You're not just watching porn, you're watching yourself disappear. Every time you reach for your phone, every time you open that tab, every time you finish and feel that emptiness crawl back into your chest, you're not just wasting a few minutes. You are killing something sacred. See, you think it's harmless. You tell yourself it's just stress relief. But look at your life. You're anxious. You can't look women in the eye. You're tired, foggy, unmotivated. You can't sit in silence without your mind turning against you. You've replaced real intimacy with a screen. You've replaced discipline with dopamine. And you wonder why you don't feel like the man you were meant to be. But let me be clear, this isn't about shame, this is about truth. You've been lied to. They told you porn is normal, that fapping every day is healthy, that every guy does it. No, brother, not every man, not the ones building something, not the ones conquering life, not the ones whose eyes burn with fire. You weren't made to live on your knees in front of a screen. You were made to lead, to protect, to create, to fight, to love. You were born for war, not withdrawal. So if you're tired of feeling like a ghost in your own life, listen, because what I'm about to tell you will change the way you see everything. And once you hear it, you'll never look at that screen the same way again. I need you to hear me clearly on this. You are not weak. You've just been hijacked, and that is a truth most people never get to hear because we live in a world that profits from your shame. You weren't born lazy. You weren't born undisciplined. You weren't born a man who couldn't control himself. That version of you, that's not who you are. That's who you became in a world designed to break you slowly and silently. Every time you open that tab, every time your finger scrolls down that timeline, every time you feel that hollow pit in your stomach after finishing it, and you look around and realize that your room, your life, your heart still feels empty, that's not weakness, that's conditioning you've been taught without words. To depend on cheap dopamine for peace? You've been trained without realizing to chase momentary pleasure at the cost of long-term power. These companies, these platforms, these billion-dollar industries, they know exactly what they're doing. They have neuroscientists, behavior psychologists, data analysts, entire teams dedicated to one goal: to keep you a slave to your impulses. That's not an accident, it's an agenda. You were never given the tools to fight back. No one taught you how to hold your urges. No one taught you that your attention is your most valuable currency, that every second you spend mindlessly watching you're leaking energy. Leaking masculinity, leaking the man you were born to become. And then what happens? You look at your life. You see the lack of progress. You see women walking right past you. You see your body getting softer, your dreams getting foggier, and you start to think maybe something's wrong with you. Let me tell you something. Nothing is wrong with you. You're just stuck in a cycle, one that was designed to keep you comfortable enough to not fight it, but miserable enough to never leave it. That's what addiction is. It's the perfect trap. Pleasure without peace, relief without reward, comfort without growth. They want you soft, distracted, addicted, because a distracted man doesn't build. A distracted man doesn't rebel. A distracted man doesn't protect his family. He doesn't build wealth. He doesn't raise sons of strength or daughters of virtue. But a focused man, a man who masters his desires, that man is dangerous. That man changes everything. And I need you to understand this. Your urges don't make you less of a man. They're not a curse. They're a compass. They're energy waiting to be channeled into something greater. That same fire that burns for lust is the fire that can build an empire. Write a book, lead a movement, change a life. You've been hijacked, but you don't have to stay a hostage. You don't need another app, another trick, another hack. What you need is truth. What you need is painful awareness. The moment you realize that your mind was weaponized against you, that your pleasure was monetized, that's the moment you wake up. That's the moment you stop blaming yourself and start fighting for yourself. And the fight isn't pretty. You'll relapse, you'll fall, you'll want to give up, but every time you choose power over pleasure, even for a day, you take back a piece of your soul. You sharpen your mind, you regain your eyes, you become visible again, you become dangerous again. So no, brother, you're not weak, you're not broken, you're not less of a man, you've just been asleep, and now it's time to wake the F***ck up. Let's talk about the part of your life nobody sees, the part that happens when the lights are off, when the door is locked, when the world thinks you're asleep. What you do in that silence, it's shaping you louder than anything you post. You might think no one knows, no one sees, it's not hurting anybody, but I'll tell you the truth, it's killing you. And worst, it's showing, because what you do in secret, it never stays there, it bleeds, it leaks, it spills out of your eyes, your posture, your voice. That habit you think is private, it's becoming public in how small you move, in how uncertain you speak, in how avoided you feel when you walk into a room. You wonder why you're invisible to women. You wonder why they stop looking your way, why they friends own you, why they say you're sweet. But never man enough. You think it's your looks, your money, your height. No, it's the energy. A man who's mastered himself moves differently. He doesn't have to speak to command attention. He doesn't chase. He doesn't beg. He attracts, because he holds a power that most men have given away. To a screen. To a 5-minute fix. To a fleeting pleasure that leaves them emptier every time. See, the man you become in the dark is the man you bring into the light. You cannot escape that. If you lie in the dark, you will hesitate in the day. If you give in at night, you will fold in public. If you lose battles with yourself, you'll lose respect from the world. It's not a coincidence, it's a reflection. People feel it, they sense it. The way you shake their hand without looking in their eyes, the way your shoulders curve inward when you stand in a group, the way your voice lacks weight when you speak. It's not that you're broken, it's that you've trained yourself repeatedly to choose comfort over control. You've built a habit of escape, and that habit, it has built a man who lives quietly in shame, but shame is not your identity. Shame is your wake-up call, because here's the most painful truth of all: nobody is coming to save you. Not your mom, not your friends, not your favorite YouTuber or podcast or preacher. This battle is yours, and it will be won or lost alone. You know that moment after it's done, when the screen goes black and you feel that sickening silence flood the room. That's not guilt. That's your soul screaming. That's the part of you that remembers you were born for more. You were not born to live for 10-second clips and 5-minute sessions of fake pleasure. You were born for connection, for depth, for legacy. But you can't build a legacy when you're a slave in the shadows. You can't walk like a king when you bow before your urges every night. It's time to raise the standard, not because you want to impress women, not because you want six-pack abs or alpha status or followers, but because the version of you that wakes up tired, foggy, ashamed, that's not who you were meant to be. And you know it. So tonight, when you're alone, when the urge hits, and your mind starts whispering lies like "just once more," you need it. You'll stop tomorrow. I want you to remember this voice, and I want you to remember who you're becoming. Every decision you make in secret is either building a throne or digging a grave. So ask yourself, when the lights are off, who are you really? And is that man worth showing to the world? Let's get real. You're not addicted to porn. You're not addicted to fapping. You're addicted to dopamine, and you don't even realize it. See, most men walk through life thinking they're free. They wake up, scroll their phones, check notifications, open Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, hit the explore page, click the link, boom. 10 minutes gone, then 15, then 30, then they close their laptop, sigh and say, "What's wrong with me?" But there's nothing wrong with you. You're hooked on a chemical your own brain makes. Dopamine, that little hit, that buzz, that rush, it feels like relief. It feels like joy, but it's a trap. You think it's just pleasure, but dopamine isn't about pleasure. It's about motivation. The more you chase easy dopamine, the harder it becomes to do anything hard. That's why you can't focus for more than 5 minutes. Why reading feels boring. Why building your business feels overwhelming. Why even texting a real girl feels like too much effort. Because your brain is being rewired, and not by you. You're giving your power away to a cycle you don't even understand. Click, scroll, release, crash, guilt, scroll again. That's not a hobby. That's not stress relief. That's slavery. When your brain is addicted to dopamine, you're no longer in control. It runs you. It tells you when to stop working, when to start watching, when to skip the gym, when to grab junk food, when to quit on your goals. And you follow because it doesn't feel like a voice yelling at you. It feels like you, but it's not you. It's the version of you that's been slowly, quietly programmed by instant gratification. Let me break it down. Back in the day, men had to hunt, build, fight, bleed, to feel even a fraction of what you feel when you open a phone. Now, you get that same hit by swiping your thumb. You didn't earn it. You didn't suffer for it. You didn't grow from it. And that's the problem. You're getting the reward without the struggle, and that rewires your brain to associate effort with boredom and mindless consumption with joy. That's why so many young men feel like they're dying inside, not depressed enough to seek help, not alive enough to thrive. Just numb. Nothing excites you anymore. You're not motivated. You're tired, always tired. But it's not your body. It's not your schedule. It's your dopamine system. It's fried. You've spent years flooding your brain with cheap hits. And now, when life offers you real joy, like the satisfaction of building something, the connection with a real woman, the confidence after a workout, your brain doesn't respond. Because it's too busy chasing shadows, too busy needing the next hit. You've got to detox. You've got to suffer a little, on purpose. Because suffering resets the system. It makes you feel again. When you quit the screen, when you start waking up early, working hard, reading books, training your body, building discipline, that dopamine doesn't go away. It starts working for you. You get a hit from crushing a task. You feel the fire come back. Your eyes light up again. You walk into a room and people notice. Not because you're loud, not because you've changed how you dress, but because something invisible has shifted. You're not owned anymore, and that's what this is all about. You've got to stop letting dopamine master you. You've got to take the leash off your mind. It's not about being perfect. It's about taking your power back, one decision at a time. So the next time that urge comes, when your brain screams just one more time, ask yourself, do I want another 5 seconds of pleasure or a lifetime of peace? You can't have both, but you do get to choose. Let me ask you something straight. How do you expect to build anything real when every night you surrender your power to lust? How do you think you'll lead a relationship, a business, a family when you can't even lead yourself past your own desires? You say you want a kingdom, you say you want money, power, respect. You want her to look at you like you're the only man alive. You want your father to finally say, "I'm proud of you." You want your boys to admire you. You want to walk into a room and feel like a man. But here's the truth that most men will never hear. You cannot worship two gods. You cannot serve your lust and your legacy. You cannot chase pleasure and purpose. You will either become a king in control of his cravings or a clown dancing for dopamine. There is no in-between. See, every time you bow down to that screen, every time you give in to that urge, you chip away at the throne you were born to build. You don't see it in the moment. You feel a release, you feel good for 10 seconds, but then it comes. That heaviness, that hollowness, that feeling that you're not who you say you are, that the man in the mirror isn't a king, he's a slave. And you try to cover it up with confidence, with bravado, with fake smiles, but deep down, you know you're not living as the man you were born to be. Listen, lust is the most powerful weapon used against modern men. It's disguised as normal, disguised as self-care, disguised as just something every guy does, but it is not harmless. It is not innocent. It is the silent killer of ambition, confidence, masculine energy, and destiny, and it's keeping you trapped in mediocrity, because no man builds an empire when his soul is chained to a fantasy. The Stoics knew this. Marcus Aurelius wrote that a man must stand upright, not be kept upright by others. But how can you stand tall when you're always on your knees to your lowest impulses? You can't, and that's the war you have to fight. Not out there, not against women, not against society, not against your past, but in here, in your mind, in your habits, in your urges. Every moment you resist lust, you sharpen your sword. Every battle you win in the dark, you gain strength in the light. Every time you say, "Not this time," you rise. You don't just beat temptation, you become more whole, more present, more masculine. You stop seeing women as objects. You start seeing them as human souls with real energy, real connection, and in return they start seeing you, not as a boy craving pleasure, but as a man who commands respect. That's the shift, and it starts with discipline, with restraint, with silence. Nobody will clap for you. No one will see the battle, but that's the point, because you're not doing it for the world. You're doing it because you're done being owned. You're done being empty. You're done pretending this life is enough. You want more, and if you want more, you have to become more. So tonight, when the urge comes like it always does, I want you to remember this. A man who cannot rule his lust will never rule his life. And kings don't kneel for screens. Kings build kingdoms, and yours is waiting. There's something sacred inside you. Something you've been told is just physical, just normal, just release. But it's not just anything. It's your energy, and you've been wasting it like it doesn't matter, but it does. It matters more than you know. See, that energy, that life force, that thing you release when you fap. It's not nothing. It's not just a habit. It's power. You don't just lose semen. You lose drive. You lose focus. You lose you. It's no accident that you feel foggy, tired, slow, unmotivated after you finish. That's not recovery. That's loss. You're leaking out your own fire. Have you ever gone a week without it? 2 weeks, a month, try it, because when you do, you'll start to notice something. You'll feel something shift in your spine. In your voice, in your eyes, women will notice, men will notice. You'll walk into a room and something about your presence will hit different. That's not confidence, that's not luck. That's stored masculine energy, it's ancient, it's primal. And you've forgotten what it feels like because you've spent years handing it over to pixels on a screen. Let me tell you something real. The most focused, successful, powerful men you know, whether they say it out loud or not, they do not waste their energy. They value it, they protect it, they guard it like treasure because it is. This isn't about superstition. It's about biology. That energy you waste, it's responsible for building life. Do you understand that? You carry inside you the ability to create a child. You hold the raw material of legacy, of continuation. But you've been taught to flush it down the drain for a few seconds of fantasy. You've been robbed. You've been lied to, and it's time you took it back. Because when you retain that energy, you don't just feel different. You start moving differently. You start building again. Your workouts go harder. Your thoughts get sharper. You start noticing how beautiful real life is, how alive everything feels when you're no longer numb. You stop chasing women. You stop craving attention because you're finally full. You walk into a conversation and instead of needing something, you bring something. That's the shift. You become a source instead of a leech. You give energy, you don't just take it. And women feel that. People feel that, even animals feel that, because masculine energy, when fully stored and centered, is magnetic. It doesn't yell, it doesn't beg, it radiates, but here's the part they don't tell you when you stop wasting that power. You have to do something with it. You can't just sit on it. It'll burn you up from the inside. You have to build, to create, to fight. To love, to move, to pour that energy into something real. That's when it transforms you. Most men will never know this feeling. They'll stay tired, stay numb, stay distracted, because they've accepted a version of masculinity that is weak, passive, and ashamed. But that's not you, not anymore. You're waking up to what you really are, and that fire inside you. It was never meant to be wasted. It was meant to be used. So the next time you feel the urge, when your brain screams for release, ask yourself this: am I about to waste my power, or will I use it to build the life I know I'm meant to live? Because the truth is, you already have everything you need. You don't need more motivation. You don't need another self-help book. You just need to stop giving away the very power that's supposed to set you free. You are a generator, a builder, a warrior, and warriors don't waste their weapons. They aim, they strike, they win. Let this one speak straight to the soul. You think freedom is doing whatever you want, whenever you want. You think it's waking up late, skipping workouts, watching what you want, eating what you crave, giving in when your urges rise. You think that's being a man, that no one telling you what to do means you're in control, but you're not in control. You're owned by distraction, by lust, by dopamine, by the false comfort of your phone, your habits, your own mind whispering, just take the easy road. That's not freedom. That's slavery dressed up as self-love, because real freedom is painful. It's discipline. It's choosing the hard thing because you know it's right. It's sitting with your hunger, with your emptiness, with your pain, and not running from it. You want to know who the strongest man in the room is. It's not the loudest, not the most ripped, not the guy flexing with chains or fake confidence. It's the man who says no to himself. The man who looks desire in the face and walks away. The man who's starving for release, but chooses restraint. That man is free, because mastery of others is power, but mastery of self, that's everything, and you feel it, don't you? You feel how far you've drifted, how your soul is tired of being dragged around by comfort. You look in the mirror and sometimes you don't even recognize the man staring back. Because deep down you know you're capable of something greater, something stronger, something more true. But the world doesn't want you to find that man, because a man who has mastered himself can't be manipulated. You can't sell him lies. You can't distract him with lust. You can't control him with fear, because he's grounded. Because he owns his thoughts, his choices, his energy, his soul, and the path to becoming that man. It's not glamorous, it's not viral, it's quiet, it's brutal, it's lonely. You'll fight in silence. You'll say no when no one's watching. You'll sit in stillness while your flesh screams for stimulation. You'll feel empty before you feel full. You'll walk away from quick fixes to build slow greatness, but day by day, moment by moment, you become free. Not because the world changes, but because you change. You'll realize you don't need porn to feel alive. You don't need likes to feel valuable. You don't need noise to feel distracted from your pain. You don't need to escape, because now you can sit in the fire and smile. You can walk through temptation and not bow. You can hold the line, not for others, but because you promised yourself you would. That's real freedom. It's not the absence of rules, it's the presence of self-command. It's being the kind of man who can walk into any room, any battle, any storm, and not flinch. Because you're not here to be comfortable. You're here to be strong. You're not here to be entertained. You're here to lead. You're not here to chase dopamine. You're here to build a legacy. And every time you choose mastery over impulse, you rise. You sharpen, you become more real, more dangerous, more alive. So ask yourself this, and ask it with brutal honesty: am I free, or am I just comfortable? Because one builds men and the other. It builds cowards in disguise. And I promise you this, when the world starts burning, when storms hit your life, when everything falls apart around you, the man who has mastered himself will still be standing. And that, brother, is the man you were born to be. I know you're tired of pretending, tired of saying tomorrow, tired of waking up every day feeling like a shadow of the man you were meant to be. I've been there, lying to myself, hiding behind screens, numbing the pain, choosing the comfort of fantasy over the chaos of becoming. But you don't have to stay there. You're not broken. You're not too far gone. You're not weak. You've just forgotten how powerful you really are. And maybe this message hit something deep. Maybe it cut through the noise. Maybe for the first time in a long time, you felt seen, called, awakened. If it did, then don't just let this be another video. Let this be the line in the sand. The moment you said, I'm done being a slave. I choose discipline. I choose power. I don't care where you are right now. All that matters is who you decide to become today. And if you're ready to walk that road, I'm walking it with you. This channel is your brotherhood. This voice, it's your reminder that you're not alone in the fight. And you're not meant to settle. You're meant to rise. So if this hit you deep like the video right now, comment "I choose power" if you're ready to break free. Share this with a brother who's stuck in the shadows. And subscribe to Stoic Bloodline, because here we don't chase comfort. We build warriors. We don't just talk. We transform. Your bloodline deserves better, and it starts with you. Let's go.